Oh, that's on.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I've broken enough things. I know.
I broke a toe leg with a car. But the foot and the rest of the wrist I had surgery on.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
Remember we had the talk about partners in deodorant? Like they don't do it right.
Oh, everything was hard because it was my right hand.
Yeah. Oh, I like those. What brand are they?
Ortho Feet. It's an online, and because
I have sneakers from there.
yes, I buy all my shoes from Ortho Feet because they're the only place where I can get shoes that fit my wide feet.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I really like these because I have a bone spur on the top of this foot,
Uh-huh.
and so I can adjust this to be
Yes.
not tight.
Yes, I have one on the side. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
I'll have
really
to check
happy-
those out.
Really happy with these. They come in kind of a teal, black, and then this is gray. So
I should get some black ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Good morning. Good, thank you. I forgot to ask you. Do we ever turn this off, or does Gregory do that? It's just on? Okay. Okay. Oh. Need a hymnal. Okay, where's Abby? Sure, sure. Or mail to Fred or something. Oh. My hair is going crazy. Oh, there's a paper clip. Hi, Abby. Great.
Oh, good. Everything is set up here?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to click
I
pages?
can. Yeah, I'll just sit and do that.
Fantastic. That was the last thing as I'm sitting here this morning. I'm like, didn't think we talked about clicking, but that's
No, we
the
didn't. We
easiest
didn't.
part.
Yeah.
Your earrings are really pretty.
Thank you. They were my gift from Carthage for 15 years. They sent us a catalog. It said, pick what you want. So it was like this or this George Foreman grillish thing.
Those are worth it. Those are really pretty.
Now, Abby, where do you get your headbands?
All over the place. My mom made some of them. A lot of it is Etsy. There's a lot of local people on Etsy that I
Because
do.
my head is so big, I have trouble finding ones that fit.
These are stretchy. So if you look for stretchy wide cloth headband on Etsy, you'll get more than you could possibly have.
Stretchy line cloth.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, well, my hair does nothing, and it's so thin and so fine, and half of it fell out after the girls. So I was like, here we go, get off my face.
It's cute.
It's fine. Are you using your mic?
No. Okay. Are you doing announcements?
You can do like this.
Yep, I know. I'll stand up for some. So yes, you're doing announcements? Good, good. I'll get out my scissors.
tiny bit more. There you go. Now the glare is off. Perfect. I like that shirt.
Oh, thank you. Need to make the announcement again today? Are you making the announcement? I'm glad I saw it. I meant to ask if they could still bring it on. Because I'm just thinking it's a dangerous thing after summer to there, you know, like are you ready?
She's the boss.
Okay. But I just like to
Yes, I'm ready. Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
Good morning. I'm Gregory Mason. Welcome to First Presbyterian Church for Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church service. Before we start, I have some announcements. If you haven't already, please pick up a hymnal and an order of service. For those watching on YouTube, you can access the order of service in today's email where it says, click here for order of service. Just a reminder, there are no Friday emails this month. And next Sunday, we will not be meeting here in the sanctuary. We are invited to join the Bradford UU Church in Kenosha for a celebration of what it means to be part of one big family. And please note, their service is at 10 o'clock. RE needs supplies for July 30th. Clean, plastic, labels off, peanut butter-sized jars are needed for an activity on July 30th. So if you brought any today, Abby's got a bag here, or you can still bring them on July 30th. Please contact me to volunteer to bring goodies for our coffee hour on June 30th. No one signed up for today. For more information and details about these announcements, along with others and community announcements, please see your weekly emails. Please join us for coffee hour in Erman Hall following the service. For those joining us on YouTube, please log into Zoom after the service for Joys and Concerns, along with coffee hour. The link is in today's email.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome. I'm Patty Riemann, a member of the worship team and today's worship leader. I'm hearing a little feedback. My pronouns are she, her, hers. It is a joy to be together again. If you're joining us on YouTube, please know that as soon as the service is ended, you can move over to Zoom for Joys and Concerns and to enjoy a good chat during the online coffee hour. Hello, YouTube. The link is in the email you received today with our Sunday service reminder. Today, the worship assistant is my husband, Joe Pomeroy, and today our pianist is the amazing Carmen Risi. Thank you, Carmen. All are welcome here. Our mission as a church is to be a community of hope, challenging us to transform ourselves, promote love and justice, respect all faiths, and shepherd our planet. As we gather, may we make space for all that we bring, all that is on our hearts each time we come together. This is one of the promises of our faith tradition, that all of who we are is welcome in our co-created and shared sacred space. I'm so grateful for this space which can hold us all together. It is good to be together.
Today's chalice lighting is a quote from Patty and my dear friend Seal Meyer, social activist and founder of the Interfaith Network for Peace and Justice in Illinois. Social activism is the mortgage we pay for living. This is especially true for white middle-class Americans, as we are given so much just by being born into the favored class in this richest nation of the world. Please rise in body or spirit to join us in our opening hymn, number 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People.
I chose today's message for all ages, She Persisted, in honor of Seal Meyer, who was a lifelong social activist whose unflinching, tenacious persistence inspired so many.
Let's try that again. Ooh, there we go. Mic is on. All right. And with that great introduction, can I have all of those young and young at heart to come on up and join me for this fabulous story about 13 American women who changed the world? I see some big smiles on that one. That is pretty cool to change the world. Now, you can look at the big screen or you can watch me, whatever is easier for you. Come on up. I won't bite you unless you ask nicely. All right. Now, this is only 13 women who've changed the world. And there's been many, many, many women who have changed the world. But this is a good beginning, right? And I was just telling my girls before we started, when they were peeking at this, that this was written by Chelsea Clinton, who is a famous woman in her own right. She does all sorts of wonderful things for the world. And she has parents who helped change the world because her dad was the president and her mom ran for president and she was the Secretary of State, amongst a million other things. So, great author. And our illustrator is Alexandra Boiger, and she did some beautiful work in this too. Sometimes being a girl isn't easy. At some point, someone will probably tell you no, will tell you to be quiet, and might even tell you your dreams are impossible. Don't listen to them. These 13 American women certainly did not take no for an answer. They persisted. Harriet Tubman was born a slave, and her story could have ended there. Instead, she persisted, escaping from slavery and becoming the most famous conductor on the Underground Railroad. She risked her life many times to lead countless slaves to freedom, including her family, friends, and strangers. Every person she led to freedom arrived safely. I should fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasted. Once Helen Keller became blind and deaf as a toddler, few people thought she'd be able to learn to read, write, or speak, but she persisted. Helen learned how to do all three, and not only became the first person with deaf blindness to graduate from college, but she used her story to help fight for more opportunities for people with disabilities in the United States and around the world. One can never consent to creep when one feels an impulse to soar. After her family fled poverty and the threat of violence in Ukraine for a new home in New York City, Clara Leemlich got a job working at a garment factory. She wrote that the factory's conditions made women into machines, and so she persisted, organizing picket lines and strikes that ultimately helped win better pay, shorter hours and safer working conditions for thousands of workers, both women and men. And this says, picket ladies, tailors, strikers. I am one of those who suffers from the abuses described here, and I move that we go on a general strike. Nellie Bly became a reporter in part because a male writer had said that working women were a monstrosity, and she wanted to prove that women could do anything. At times, putting her safety at risk, she persisted throughout her career in exposing real monstrosities, pretending to be a sweatshop worker and a patient in a mental hospital to show how badly people were being treated. I have never written a word that did not come from my heart. I never shall. Inspired from an early age by her brother's childhood illness, Virginia Apgar was determined to be a doctor long before many girls had such dreams. Even though she qualified to be a surgeon, the male head surgeon at her hospital discouraged her because she was a woman. Nevertheless, she persisted, becoming an anesthesiologist and creating the APGAR score to test a newborn baby's health, which hospitals all over the world still use today. Nobody but nobody is going to stop breathing on me. After Maria Tallchief's family moved to California, partly to support Maria's dreams of becoming a dancer, she was teased by students in school for her Native American heritage, and later was encouraged to change her last name to something that sounded Russian, since many professional dancers at the time were from Russia. She persisted, ignoring all the taunting and poor advice, to become the first great American prima ballerina. It never occurred to me to say it hurts to do that. As a 15-year-old riding a bus home from school in Montgomery, Alabama, Claudette Colvin was expected to give up her seat to a white woman just because she was African American. In her refusal to get up, she persisted in taking a stand for what's right, helping to inspire Rosa Parks to make the same choice 9 months later, an act many point to as starting the modern civil rights movement. I knew then, and I know now, that when it comes to justice, there is no easy way to get it. You can't sugarcoat it. You have to take a stand and say, this is not right. When Ruby Bridges was in kindergarten, many schools across America, particularly in the South, still refused African American students their equal right to an education. Ruby wouldn't be treated like a second-class student, and she persisted, walking for weeks past angry, hateful protesters to integrate an all-white elementary school in New Orleans. That fateful walk to school began a journey, and we all must work together to continue moving forward. As the first woman to serve as both a U.S. representative and a U.S. senator, Margaret Chase Smith could have let that fact alone be her legacy. Instead, she persisted in championing women's rights and more opportunities for women in the military, standing up for free speech and supporting space exploration. The head of NASA once noted that we wouldn't have put a man on the moon without Margaret. The right way is not always the popular and easy way. Standing for right when it is unpopular is a true test of moral character. Sally Ride always believed women could succeed in math or science careers. Although not everyone agreed, she persisted, and she became the first American woman in space. But that wasn't enough for Sally. She traveled into space once more and then created science and engineering programs specifically for girls so she could help generations of young women achieve their dreams too, both on Earth and in outer space. Young girls need to see role models in whatever careers they may choose, just so they can picture themselves doing those jobs someday. You can't be what you can't see. When, as a kid, Florence Griffith Joyner visited her father in the Mojave Desert, he would urge her to run faster and faster, to run as fast as a jackrabbit. Even when she had to leave college to help support her family, she persisted in her training on the track, then went back to school and got faster and faster. Her unbroken world records in the 100-meter and 200-meter sprints set at the 1988 Summer Olympics mean she is still the fastest woman ever. When anyone tells me I can't do anything, I'm just not listening anymore. Oprah Winfrey's grandmother expected Oprah to follow in her footsteps and become a maid. Oprah knew, even as a little girl, that her dreams would take her somewhere else. She persisted in turning those dreams into her reality and became a media superstar, working in movies, books, magazines, theater, and most of all, television, where The Oprah Winfrey Show remains the highest-rated talk show of all time. The biggest adventure you can ever take is to live the life of your dreams. Watching fictional judges on television inspired Sonia Sotomayor to want to be a real-life judge when she grew up. She knew she'd have to speak English as well as she spoke Spanish, study hard in school, and manage her diabetes before she could one day wear a judge's robe with a gavel in hand. She persisted, eventually becoming a Supreme Court justice and the first ever Latina to sit on America's highest court. I have never had to face anything that could overwhelm the native optimism and stubborn perseverance I was blessed with. So if anyone ever tells you no, if anyone ever says your voice isn't important or your dreams are too big, remember these women. They persisted, and so should you. Whew. That's a lot to think about, isn't it? And a lot of people to think about. And we can talk some more about these when we work upstairs. So let's stand up and do our blessing before we head out.
I lost my order of service. It's okay. It's time for our offertory, and during the month of July, we invite you to join us to provide support through our offertory outreach to our chosen recipient, Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin in Racine. Our collection plate cash donations in July will give half to the organization, and if you're not attending in person, we are asking that you make checks payable to OBUUC and mark collection plate in the memo and mail to the annex office. These donations will be split. If you're using text to give, credit card, or smartphone donation, please indicate that it is for collection plate, which will be split, or offertory outreach, which is not split. Those who want their entire donation to go directly to the recipient should make checks payable to Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin Racine and mail to the church office at 419 6th Street, Racine 53403. And now we're at the time in our service where we honor the joys and sorrows that we hold in our congregation. Today we're doing a silent one, so all who have a joy or sorrow are invited to come forward and light a candle. Gregory will light another candle for the joys and sorrows from our YouTube audience. Okay, now we're going to sing. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a
Seal takes on Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by Lorette Verbinski. The following is an excerpt from the memories of one of Seal's dear friends from her time living in Oak Ridge, Tennessee in the 60s. Seal is a Southern white woman who makes reparation for past injustices done to blacks a personal responsibility. She feels deeply her own family's compliance with segregation in past generations. In Oak Ridge, Seal's first attacks were on the Davis Brothers cafeteria and the Walgreens soda fountain. She organized us into picket lines and sit-ins. When the local radio stations failed to recognize the protests, their way of hoping the problem would go away by not acknowledging it, Seal called the FCC in Washington and demanded that their licenses be revoked. After the restaurants, she organized us into closing the drive-in theater and the laundromat until they would serve the black community.
Before I start, I want to say hello to any of Seal's relatives who are watching today on YouTube. All the material that I'm sharing today is from Seal's son, Fred Meyer. So I've been percolating on today's message for months. I knew I wanted it to be about Seal Meyer, who lived 96 years in a life full of social activism. Joe and I first met Seal in 1993 at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of DeKalb, Illinois. And we're so very lucky to call Seal a friend, a hero, and a kind of role model. So today we're going to take a look at some major points of how Seal has inspired me and countless others, courtesy of Seal's actions and even her own words. If, when the service is ended, you'd like to read more about Seal, just let me know. I have several files I can share with you. You should know that Seal was and still is iconic, and either people loved her or she drove them crazy. Frankly, sometimes it was a little of both. She was notorious, courageous, outspoken, demanding, and passionate, and she always wore lipstick. Born and raised in Florida, Seal lived in the oppressive, segregated Deep South. Her father struggled with mental illness, and her mother was a nurse. Seal inherited her mother's need to care for others and was a social worker. Early on, Seal's outspokenness emerged, earning her the nickname Miss Snip. While Seal rebelled against segregation, it was not until she was in her 20s that she realized just how brutal racism really was in the U.S. In her autobiography, Seal writes about her mother's paradoxical dedication to nursing people of all colors and yet discriminating at home, noting, "She would go out with her little bag and administer hypodermics or whatever was needed when called, at times in the middle of the night. However, although courteous to all people, she believed in Southern traditions and would not entertain blacks in her home. Those that visited were received in the front yard." As I began to challenge the unjust system of segregation, my parents saw me as like the Yankee troublemakers. When Mama asked where I got my ideas, I would say, "In Methodist Sunday school class," whereupon she replied that those lessons were composed by Yankees. It makes me smile to think of a young Seal, already so driven and so outspoken about her beliefs. Like her mother, Seal had her own paradoxical ways. She actually enlisted during World War II because she was inspired to defeat Hitler. She served in the Fleet Marine Force Pacific during World War II, stationed in Washington, D.C. and Hawaii. However, during her service in Hawaii, Seal experienced a dramatic change in her views of war. In her autobiography, Seal says, "During my 10 months or so in Hawaii, I became both a pacifist and an integrationist. Dealing with last effects of Marines killed in battle had already turned me off about war. And then dating Marines in Hawaii who were just back from awful slaughter on the islands in the Pacific, plus visiting badly wounded Marines in the Aya Naval Hospital in Hawaii, convinced me that war is wrong and that there has to be a better way to resolve differences among nations. The young men we visited were not only horribly wounded, some blind with faces blown off, but seemed emotionally damaged as well. One could not blame these wounded men for such attitudes as bragging about killing their prisoners, or spending weeks or months in life or death battle with the enemy who wounded them and killed their buddies. But it seemed wrong to place them in that situation. Another awareness that solidified during her time serving our country was her understanding of how pervasive and insidious racism in the U.S. truly is. She notes, "At the time I was in Hawaii, I read for the first time books like Richard Wright's Black Boy and Lillian Smith's Strange Fruit, and was deeply shaken to realize for the first time the brutality of the black man's experience in the South." Seal worried so much about the state of our nation, and it's frustrating to see how much has not changed since she wrote this over 20 years ago. Most of us feel we want in the end to have given something back for the good things we've had in our lives, and retirement gives us the opportunity to try to do that. Most of us would like to see peace and justice in the world, but first we need to know and make some sense out of what is going on in our own nation and among nations, like what's causing the ever-widening gap between the rich and the poor, the black and the white, the wealthy industrialized states and the poor third world countries. We need to understand what's causing such a large percentage of the world's children to grow up ill-fed, ill-clothed, ill-housed, and poorly educated and without medical care. It's important for us, who have so many advantages, to ponder how things could be changed to give every child a chance for a healthy, happy childhood in a safe environment that is able to nurture them, that is, one that is not being systematically exploited and destroyed. Later, after the horrific events of 9/11, Seal and her husband Axel started the Peace Corner, where we would gather at downtown DeKalb's busiest corner every Friday at 5 p.m., come rain, shine, snow, or sleet, to protest war and oppression. The first sign said, "Not in my name," meaning, don't go to war and say it's for me. Later, the signs were against every American oppression, and there were plenty. I'd like to say I was there right beside Seal every Friday, but I was not. I tried to go regularly, but even back then, I could only stand for so long, and honestly, it was frightening to be there. The haters who drove by would shout obscenities and rev their loud diesel engines as they peeled out and passed, while across the street, the so-called patriots gathered to protest the protesters. They even held signs calling us traitors. Following each weekly protest, Seal and Al would hold a peace circle. There would be a prayer, announcements, or special music, and then we would join hands and sing "Let There Be Peace on Earth," with the lyrics modified a little. Oh, how Seal loved to sing, and she had a beautiful soprano voice. I know she sang in choirs earlier in her life, but I doubt singing in an organized group was a high priority for her busy, busy life later. Seal struck fear in the hearts of Republican politicians, especially the now incarcerated former Speaker of the House, Dennis Hastert. When I first came to town and mispronounced his name, Seal simply said, "Rhymes with." Oh, how Hastert hated her visits to his office when he was a representative. In fact, she bragged about having to be dragged out of his office, and in legendary fashion, she once aggravated him so much that he threw a chair. Now, there are a number of current politicians whose sides I would love to be such a thorn in. How about you? I think we should have a "Make a Politician Want to Throw a Chair" day. I think it would catch on. Outside of the U.S., no cause was geographically beyond Seal's care. It's not a surprise that she felt compelled to help the people of Nicaragua after the U.S.-backed Contra War against the democratically elected Nicaraguan government. She visited Nicaragua and identified several nonprofit groups helping the most disadvantaged. She founded the Central American Fund for Human Development, and for the next 30 years worked tirelessly to raise funds for their programs. No matter how much she did for others, Seal never thought that she was doing enough. The love of Seal's life was her husband Axel, Al Meyer. Like Seal, Al was an activist. He was also stoic and patient, and at least once helped Seal get over a fence so that she could be arrested for protesting and trespassing. Al was a physics professor and an active member of the Doomsday Clock Committee, and was a leader in exposing and opposing the dangers of nuclear technology, both for weapons and for power generation. When Al passed away from cancer in 2009, Seal was devastated. "Treasure every moment," Seal told us more than once. Seal was a loving mother, grandmother, aunt, and wife who cherished her husband, Al. I have the best memory of giving Seal and Al a ride to the Peace Corner when all I had available was our old pickup truck. In their 80s at the time, Seal sat on Al's lap, laughing joyfully at the silliness of it, and she kissed me on the cheek when I dropped them off. When Joe and I decided to live together in '95, Seal sent us a lovely card with a quote on the front that said, "Hitch your wagon to a star." Inside, she wrote, "The best advice I can give you is to remember to be kind to each other." This is the best relationship advice I've ever gotten, and it's what I now share with new couples when they ask. I could go on and on about Seal. She would peek over donors' shoulders while they were writing their checks and ask, "Can't you add another zero?" Seal came to my dissertation defense. Why? Because she wanted to support me. Seal always showed up. Seal was shamelessly good at guilt tripping, yet compassionate and understanding when one's health kept them from participating more. Even as her own body aged and her health declined, Seal fought on and on. As she put it, the reality today is, of course, so far from our dreams that some would say, we seniors should just forget it and just enjoy the money we have saved for our retirement by traveling or doing whatever we enjoy. That we shouldn't try to solve the problems of the world, since there's too many for any of us to make a difference anyway. Well, spending the rest of my life on a perpetual vacation or on a round of never-ending travel would not be satisfying for me. What gives me satisfaction is getting involved in efforts aimed at making life a little easier for some of the ones who are suffering the most. I wish you could all have been at Seal's memorial service to hear the voices from other faiths, other races, and other countries, and to witness the fond tribute full of laughter, tears, rueful head shaking, and most of all, the strongest admiration for a dedicated life that positively impacted the lives of so many who desperately needed it. Thank you, Seal, for everything. And now, as Seal would be so pleased to do, please rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 168, One More Step.
As we extinguish our chalice, this famous Margaret Mead quote seems fitting. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has.
We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection. Our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be be loving, peace and unrest. Thank you, Carmen. That was beautiful. Have a great day.